Thank you. Hello, guys. Good afternoon, and welcome to today's lesson. In the coming weeks, we shall be looking at plant morphology, basically the morphology of flowering plants. I want us to look at what we shall be looking at in details. We shall look at flowering plants. Then from there we look at the main classes of flowering plants. These are the monocots and the dicots. After that, we look at the parts and functional modifications of these parts. So the main parts of the plant are the roots, the stem, and the leaves. We hope that by the time we finish with this lesson, we shall be able to recall the definition of morphology and then appreciate its importance. You should also be able to describe the external features of monocots and dicots. You should be able to outline the functions of roots, stems, and leaves of plants. And also you should be able to discuss some of the modifications that each part of the plant has, or which other functions they are modified for, apart from their main primary functions. You should be able to distinguish between monocots and dicots. And then, of course, you should be able to identify some modified parts of the plants and their functions. So let's go straight into our lesson for today. I would like you to remember that morphology is the branch of biology that deals with the study of the form, take notes, the size, color, structure, and relative position of various parts of an organism. All right. Now, why is the study of morphology important, especially in plant biology? Now, the study of morphology is important for recognizing and identifying plants. Okay, so we want to know which plant is this based on the form, the size, the color, and structure, and of course the relative positions of parts of the plant. All right, that will help us to identify and recognize the plant. So when we see this plant, we know that based on these physical structures that we see, this plant is called A or B or C. All right. Now, morphology also gives information about the range of variations found in a particular plant species. So when we see different types of or different varieties of the same species, let's take cassava for instance, we see different. Morphology helps us to know how different the Manihot utilissima is from the Manihot esculenta, based on some of the features that we shall be looking at very soon. All right. Now, deficiency and toxicity symptoms arise from changes that occur in the morphology of the plant based on response to either shortage or excess of certain minerals. You know that the nutrients of plants are basically minerals, okay? So any change in the normal morphology of a plant is in response to whether there is excess or limiting amounts of the minerals that they have. All right. You are clear with that. So let's go on and look at the flowering plants proper. In this picture, you would see the external features of a flowering plant. You have the flower, which is very important, very important. You have of course, that's how they are called flowering plants. Not all plants, I beg your pardon, has flowers. So you have the flower there, you can see. Then we have the fruits, which develops from the flower. Of course, the fruit contains seeds, which I'll get into some of the definitions very soon. Then we have the stem, we have the node and internode and bud, and then the root system. Good. Let's look at the flowering plants proper. The flowering plants It's also known as the angiosperm, and it belongs to the division Angiospermophyta. Division Angiospermophyta. It is a plant that produces seeds that are contained in a fruit. Depending on how many seed leaves, the seed leaves are also called the cotyledons. Depending on how many cotyledons there are in a seed, the flowering plant is either a monocot, having only one cotyledon, or a dicot, having two cotyledons. Now, examples of monocots are maize, rice, wheat, oats, and all the other plants within the grass family, or all the plants that look like grasses are basically monocots. Examples of dicots, on the other hand, are mango, pear, cashew, neem, and most of the non-grass-like plants that we see around. All right. Now, what are the general characteristics of angiosperms? Angiosperms are able to produce seeds that are enclosed in fruits, or they have fruits that contain seeds. All right. Then bear in mind that these seeds develop from flowers. I told you earlier on that that's the reason why they are called flowering plants. Then, of course, they undergo double fertilization. As time goes on, we shall look at what double fertilization is, and then you will get to appreciate what it means. Okay, let's look at the differences between monocots and dicots. Like I said early on, monocots have only one cotyledon, whereas dicots have two cotyledons. The floral parts of monocots are arranged in threes, whereas those in the dicots are arranged in fours and fives, and there are multiples for that matter. And of course, in the monocots, there is what we call the fibrous. Hold on, guys, I'm coming. Okay, you're welcome back. Yeah, so we are looking at the differences between monocots and dicots. And as you recall, I told you that the monocots have only one seed leaf, whereas dicots have two seed leaves. The floral parts of monocots are arranged in threes and multiples of threes, whereas floral parts in dicots are arranged in fours, fives, and multiples of fours and fives, right? So you see floral parts in, like, you see 4, 8, 12 in dicots, or you see 5, 10, 15. But in monocots, you get 3, 6, and 9. So that's what we mean by threes and multiples of 3, and then the other one. All right, in the monocots, we have the fibrous root system, which I'll get into those details as time goes on, whereas the dicots have a tap root system. The monocots also have parallel venation in the leaves, whereas in the dicots, the leaves are networked. So the venation of the leaves are networked, all right? They do not have a leaf stalk, but they have a leaf sheath. That's for the monocots. But the dicots have leaf stalk, but they don't have leaf sheath, all right? The leaves of monocots are narrow, and so on and so forth. Examples of monocots are, I think I have a mistake here. It's the opposite. Examples of monocots are onion, coconuts, bamboo, grasses, rice, etc. But the examples of dicots, please check the slides. There's a mistake. Maybe I'll correct it and then send you the corrected version. Right. Examples are pawpaw, daisy, rose, orange, mango, etc. Take note of the fact that all flowering plants have roots. In fact, they have true roots, true stem, true leaves. They have flowers and they have fruits which contain seeds. All right. The underground parts of the flower form what we call the root system, and the portion that rises in response to light out of the ground is called the shoot system. All right. In dicots, elongations of the radicle forms the primary root. In dicots, the radicle grows to form the primary roots, which comes with a lot of other roots called secondary roots, tertiary roots, and so on and so forth, right? The primary root is the main root, um, um, which which bears some other roots arising from the sides, and so they are called lateral roots. And the primary root together with these lateral roots form what we call the taproot system. You can find this type of root system in all dicots such as the mango, the orange, the mustard, the gram, and so on and so forth. In the monocots, however, there is no primary roots, but we have a series of roots that arise from the base of the stem. And this is called the fibrous root system. It has roots that are similar in shape and size. All right. So you find this in rice, wheat, maize, and all the grasses. Okay. The roots that arise from other parts of the plant, apart from the radicle, are called adventitious roots. All right. So you know that in plants, the roots arise from the radicle. So if any root is not coming from the radicle, such a root is called an adventitious root. Okay, and you find adventitious roots in many grasses, you find it in the banyan tree, you find it in maize, and so on and so forth. Now, the main function of the root system is to absorb water and mineral salts from the soil, is to provide proper anchorage to the plants, and also store food materials. These three are the main functions of the roots. But apart from that, there are some other modifications of the roots, and these modifications are there to provide extra functions, or the roots have these modifications to provide other functions apart from these three main. I hope you're with me. So what are some of these modifications of the roots? The first one I want us to look at is the storage roots. These roots are roots that are modified to store excess food, or the food produced by the plants through photosynthesis, in the cortex. All right. Now the food is in the form of starch. Sorry, is in the form of sugars. That's glucose, but it is stored in the form of starch. All right. Now there are examples of such plants that store food in their roots. We have the cassava, the sweet potato. Bear in mind that cassava and sweet potato storage roots are adventitious roots. These are not true roots. They are not roots coming from the radicle. They are adventitious roots, okay? But those that come from the main or the true root, which is example, the tap root, we have the water leaf, the beet roots, you know the beet roots, the carrots, right? Yeah, so the water leaf, the how you call in our the English name, the scientific name, of course, you know, is the Talinum triangulare. All right, so these are tap roots. Then another modification of the root is the breathing root. Breathing root, or what we call the Pneumatophores. Now, these are modified adventitious roots that function for in gaseous exchange. They are found in plants that live and grow in salt marshes. all right, along the coast, inside the lagoons, or sometimes even very close to the coasts. Okay, these roots are normally seen projecting from the base or just a little above the soil. Okay, and they project into the air. They are highly spongy and they have very numerous air spaces within them. All right. If we'll get ahead and then you realize that these air spaces are called erenchyma, or they are provided by erenchymal cells. Okay. Now this enables their function of gaseous exchange. Of course, if you have a lot of air spaces provided and the thing looks like sponge, then of course the function for gaseous exchange is to be enhanced. Okay, and then the major example of a plant that has such pneumatophores or breathing roots is the white mangrove, scientifically called Avicennia. Example of such is Avicennia nitida. All right. Then we have the other modified roots called the stilt roots. Now the stilt roots, unlike the breathing roots, which project out from the muddy water. I told you salty marsh, so that's what muddy water. The stilt roots arise along or from the lower nodes of the plants and rather run into the mud. All right. These ones, they are not for breathing, so they move into the mud to provide extra support or to anchor the plant firmly in the salty marsh. Now, if you go to any lagoon site or any Ramsar site, example, if you get to Keta, you get to Weita, you see these plants along the lagoons, usually in front of, sometimes just a little inside the lagoon. All right, these are very muddy places. Now you see the roots. I'll show you pictures in our subsequent lessons. All right, so the roots enter the water, all right, from the outside to provide extra support, anchorage to the plants. All right, and now an example of such a plant is the red mangrove called Rhizophora, and then some palm trees that also grow along along the salty marshes. All right. So the next one I would like us to look at is the brace root. Now the brace root is so called the prop root, and it can be found in most monocot plants such as the maize, sugarcane, and other grass crops such as the millet and so on and so forth. These are adventitious roots that grow at the base, just above the soil, at the base of the plant, just above the soil, and they grow into the soil. If you can picture the maize plant at the base, you see those roots that project from the nodes at the base into the soil. What is their function? Just to provide additional support, all right? Just to hold the plant firmly into the soil. That is that for the simple. Then there are some other Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
There are some other modifications of the root. We have the climbing roots. These roots enable the plants, or in fact, they literally carry the plant onto another plant. We find climbing roots in the yam and black pepper, right? Then we have aerial roots. We have aerial roots. These are roots that also project from branches of the tree downwards or just into the air. They are also supplied with a lot of air spaces and they aid in breathing. Now, the aerial roots are such that they occur in plants that have very thick branches that intertwine. And because of that, you can also imagine, you will agree with me that once there's a cluster of intertwining branches, oxygen circulation or carbon dioxide circulation in the leaves will be minimal. And that's why it is important for the plant to develop extra roots that will aid in gaseous exchange. Is that okay? Then, of course, they are found, if you remember, if you can picture the plant right in front of the science block, where in the lawn, sometimes we have class under that tree.
Yeah.
Tell your colleagues to unmute. Why? I want to be hearing the feedback from you guys.
Say.
Unmute and let me get the feedback from you.
Say.
Yeah. Rejoice, unmute.
So why you?
Okay. Frank, unmute. Courage, unmute.
Say.
Yes. Michael.
And so when you were talking about the climbing roots, you made mention of the
black pepper and the yam.
Say the yam, is it the roots that climb?
Okay, fine. That's rather a climbing stem. So thank you. That's great. So we limit the example to black pepper. Great, black pepper. Is anyone asking anything again? Okay, looks like I have some challenge. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And okay, all right. So let's go on. Then we have the parasitic roots. These are roots that these are roots of parasites. They are also called the hostorial roots. Hostorial roots. They are roots that anchor the parasites to the host and also has mechanisms of
Sir,
yes.
when Monica was explaining it, my line was breaking, so I didn't hear it.
Pardon? Is that Seke Benani? Hello. Yes, is that Seke?
It's a mistake. No.
My line is breaking.
Yes.
Okay, so let's finish with this, then we continue. I'm talking about the hostorial roots that are modified roots in parasitic plants such as the mistletoe and the doda plants. All right, they have the mechanism of anchoring the plant to the host, the plant which is the parasite, to the hosts. All right. They also have the ability to absorb nutrients from the phloem of the host. You know that parasitic plants are not able to make their own food, but they take food from their hosts. All right. So the hostorial roots have that ability to absorb the nutrients that are in the phloem vessels of the host plant. All right. So basically, that is what I want us to talk about for today in plant biology that we have started. So far we have looked at we have discussed flowering plants in detail. Of course, I reminded you of the definition for morphology and its importance. Then we looked at some of the characteristics of the flowering plants, and in that picture you see over there. Then we looked at the differences between monocots and dicots as the major divisions of flowering plants. Then we want to look at the modifications or the modifications of some of the parts of the plant. Now we started with the modifications of the roots. We have seen the storage roots, example cassava and carrots. We have seen breathing roots, which is found in Avicennia. We have seen stilt roots found in red mangrove, prop roots found in maize, hostorial roots found in mistletoe or parasitic plants. Then the aerial roots that we also talked about. If you have any questions, I think you are free to ask now. You can unmute if you have a question, unmute and ask.
Sir.
Yes. I think you, Michael.
Please.
Who is asking the question? Seke Benoni, right?
Sir.
Yes, let me hear you.
Sir, get the roots.
Yes. So that's why you were asked to add your contacts and your email. It will be available for you at the Google Classroom.
Yes, sir.
So if you've not added your phone number and email, do so before the end of the class.
Sir. Sir.
All right. Yes, Courage.
Sir, please, which one is the black pepper? I don't know you too.
Okay, now you can just Google for the picture, and then you see how the plant is. Basically, that the black pepper is a spice in most of our local dishes.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Who else is asking something? Yes, our guy Jason. Jason. Okay. So, in the absence of anything, I'd like to bring the class to an end.
Hey, sir.
Courage.
Sir, please, is there any category we can like put monocots and dicots under in terms of pination?
Venation.
Pination. Pinnation. Pination.
Okay. I'm not very not really. Not really. But what I think what is most important is the fact that monocots leaves are narrow, whereas dicots leaves are broad. All right. You know that finishing has to do with the size or the shape of the leaves. All right. A row of, as to whether it is front, as in a palm front. Is that what you're asking of, right?
I'm asking, like, you see, we have tripinate, unipinate, bipinate, tetrapinate, those
Yeah,
things.
that's what I'm
So
saying.
I'm asking if you can maybe.
You see that most plants that are pinnates are monocots. Talk about all the types, all the various examples of palm trees. Most of them are bipinnates, all right? Then there are some other, there are some other monocots such as some other dicots such as the Delonis, Delonis regia, that's flamboyant, that is also bipinnate. All right, some are, and of course some are tripinate and so on and so forth. But we cannot generalize. You understand?
Okay.
We cannot generalize for them. But what we know is that monocot leaves are narrow, whereas dicot leaves are broad. And of course, the venation in monocots is parallel, whereas that in dicot is networked. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. I'm sure we shall meet again another time for elective biology. It is bye from me.